Hola, buenas tardes a todos los que se están uniendo a este webinar con la Escuela de Ingeniería de la Universidad de Nueva York. Hoy me acompaña Carrie Bowling, que les va a hablar de todas las posibilidades que tienen al unirse a esa escuela tan prestigiosa de la Universidad de Nueva York. Entonces, Carrie, hi, and you can go with your presentation.
Great. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today's session. I'm going to go ahead and just put the slideshow on now for everybody to see. Thank you so much for coming and attending today's session. I'm hopefully here today to give you a little bit of information about NYU. And our programs, our offerings, what we have, and how you can apply if you are interested in attending the institution. I'll also talk a little bit about our collaboration and scholarship opportunities with futuro, so you'll be able to find out a little bit more information about that. And then at the end of the presentation, I will be available for some additional questions that you might have for me. So let me go ahead and jump in to tell you a little bit about the institution itself. Our presentation here is just a little bit of a synopsis of what we're doing at being on the cutting edge of technology and NYU, and how we are really helping change the world for a better place when it's currently rapidly changing. I'm sure all of you know technology is constantly on the move. Everything with AI seems like it's been taking off really quickly over the last couple of years as well. But we're going to talk about how NYU innovates for this rapidly changing world that we're talking about. Like I said, my name is Carrie Bowling. I'm a senior assistant director within the graduate admissions office. So really my role here is, I don't review any of your files or anything like that. I'm really just here to be a counselor for you and help you understand the application process, help you understand NYU, the US education system, any questions that you might have to help you navigate that process. So I'm really sort of your guide through this, and I'm here to help you. Um, Again, as I said, we're going to go through a lot here today. I'll try to keep it short and sweet as much as possible, but I also want you guys to have the information to get you excited about the possibility of attending NYU. So let's jump right in. What we're going to be covering today a little bit is just, we'll touch a little bit on our history, how long we've been around, the prestige that we have around that, the knowledge that we are bringing to our communities and our students and beyond that, what the community here at NYU looks like here in New York City as well as abroad, what it looks like to be a student here at NYU when you're studying in New York, and then the different opportunities that become available to you as well with an education here at Tandon, the engineering school. So of course, we really benefit our students from a rich history of invention and innovation here at Tandon. You can see here on the slide, we have been around for quite some time. We were founded in 1854 as the Brooklyn Collegiate and Polytechnic Institute. So a different name than what we currently are here today. So there's been several reiterations of the institution. And just a little over a decade ago, the institution merged with NYU, which is the largest private university in the United States. And since then, we've been really able to take off and improve even more upon our rich history. Don't have time, unfortunately, today to go through all of the amazing things highlighted on this slide of the innovation that's been going on since 1854 at the institution, but I highly recommend that you check it out on our website. We have a little history section that talks about it because there's some amazing things that have been happening. Like I said, about 10 years ago, so in 2014 was that merger with NYU and became the Polytechnic School of Engineering at NYU. But in 2015, Chandran and Chandrika Tandon generously donated over $100 million to the institution to go towards the engineering programs. And that's why we're now called NYU Tandon School of Engineering. Here, we also like to talk a little bit about the research that we are doing at the institution. At the graduate level, it's really important to make sure that the institutions are studying and working towards the types of research and the types of programming that you're interested in. Whether you're doing a master's or a PhD, it's important that you find a engineering program that is going to give you the skill sets that you're looking for. So seeing what type of research is being done at the institution, what type of courses are being given within your particular program is always something I recommend that students do. It is something that, like I said, is something that can vary from institution to institution. So you might see a mechanical engineering program at one school and it be different than a mechanical engineering program at NYU. So this is one of the reasons we really like to highlight what's going on here, but also talk about the exciting things that are happening. As I was saying before, we're really on the cutting edge of these research technologies, and we're very excited about the innovation that's happening at the institution currently. So some of the vital fields that we really focus on, so this isn't everything that we do, but it is some of the top areas in which we focus, are communications and IT, cybersecurity, data science, AI and robotics, emerging media, health, sustainability, and urban research areas as well. I do want to point out that these aren't necessarily associated with one particular program either. They do overlap a multitude of our programs and offerings and courses, as well as within, a different engineering degree field as well. So don't feel like you can only study these certain things. They do overlap and they are quite cross-disciplinary. So we always recommend students check out the things that are available to them within their particular program. To highlight things a little bit more, I just want to give a couple examples about what's happening in each of these different research areas. So within communications and IT, there's groundbreaking research happening with a project that's being spearheaded by Tandon, that is bringing cutting edge immersive three-dimensional videos to dance education, making learning the arts more available to a wide variety of students. So we're actually working with other schools at NYU, so Tisch, the art school, to do this program as well. Professor Lee, who is in charge of the electrical and computer engineering department, leads a research team to help do this as well. So if you want to know a little bit more about that, you'll see that there is a QR code on the slide. So if that's something that's interesting to you, definitely check that out. And you'll see that theme on all of these slides. There's always more information on our website. Next is cybersecurity. So NYU Tandon researchers have fabricated the world's first microchip designed through conversations with LLM and AI platform, a breakthrough that promises to help simplify and accelerate chip development. So amazing things that are happening there. We have a lot of amazing things that are happening within cybersecurity. As I mentioned, we're just highlighting some small things here, but definitely check out everything on our website if that's something that interests you. Next, data science, AI, and robotics. So there's been a lot of things happening within New York City itself, with groundbreaking projects that are happening with the university in conjunction with the city itself. So a couple of our professors have been developing AI-driven technologies that identify developing envelope leaks through robots and drone scans, offering a cost-effective and efficient alternative way to traditional inspections when it comes to greenhouse gas emissions in the city itself. So some exciting things that are happening there. In regards to emerging media, our professor Ganis is innovating AR and VR apps to make virtual spaces more interactive and secure for users. So again, this is improving technologies and creating new ones so that we can be at the forefront of multiple sectors, including health, entertainment, and civic technologies. And then, of course, health, there's a lot of amazing things we're doing within the health sector. We're having a lot of collaborations, again, not only with other professors and programs in different disciplines at Tandon, but also across institutions across NYU. So there's a lot of connections with the medical school as well. Currently, we have professors that are working with the FDA to design regulatory science tools that are based in data from biomarkers in order to improve and review processes for devices. And how to best use them, which is really great as well. And then within sustainability, we have researchers here that are working with redox flow, or RFD, an emerging electrochemical technique that turns seawater into potable drinking water that's more affordable and able to store renewable energy. And then lastly, we have our urban areas as well, where we have Professor Chow, who is he's an institute associate within the Department of Civil and Urban Engineering and an associate director for C2 Smarter. And they work to build projects that have been made through making things a lot better for the NYC traffic systems, which is something that if you've ever been to New York, you know the traffic here can be quite bad. So working with the city to improve these things, improve things like the metro system, things like that, and transportation in general, and working with even the fire department to help speed up emergency responses through AI technologies. So a lot of amazing things happening there. So as you can see, we are developing a lot of different things. Those were just a few. Hopefully, they've sparked your interest a bit, but I highly recommend, like I said, checking out the website to see what your department and program are currently working on in regards to research being done at the institution. So I do want to talk a little bit about some of our rankings. I know that students always want to know how the institutions are doing. You can see here some of our rankings. We are ranked in the top percentage of engineering schools across the United States, which is really great. We're very proud of that. And we continue over the last 10 years to go higher and higher above those rankings because of the investment that we're putting into our research, as well as the investment we're putting into the resources that we're providing for our students, and how they are able to come out of our programs and be able to find the work that they want to do and move forward, which is really great. One of the favorite tidbits that I like to point out is our ranking with Princeton Review as ranked as the #3 dream school. This is a ranking that students themselves have put in. So hopefully after today's presentation, NYU will be your dream school as well. I will say when it comes to the graduate level, it always is important to take rankings with a grain of salt. Rankings, I think, are a great place to start off from when looking at institutions, making sure that they have, the things that you're looking for are going to be able to support you and provide you with a good return on your investment in the institution. But a ranking isn't the end of your journey. As I was mentioning before, graduate programs are really highly specialized within their department and program. So it's important to think about how a program fits your needs and what you're looking for that program to provide you. So you can always start off looking at those rankings and then find a few institutions that you're looking for, and then deep dive into those institutions to see how they can really provide you with what you're looking for in order to find the best match for the programs that you want to apply to. Some other things that I do want to highlight here for you is just some general information about our student populations. I know when students are thinking about applying to programs, they're thinking about, how do I rank in regards to other students that are going to this institution? So this is some information from our incoming class of last year. So this can give you some general averages of what we typically expect. So the institution itself, so Tandon, not all of NYU, but just Tandon, has a little over 8,000 students. Over 5,000 of those are actually our graduate and professional students. So only a little under 3,000 are undergraduate students. The reason I highlight that is to let you know that, our graduate students are not an afterthought at Tandon. They are students who we prioritize. They're going to have access to resources, the same resources as our undergraduate students, if not more resources. And I highlight that because not all institutions do that. Sometimes graduate students are seen as an afterthought. Their undergraduate students are their priority, and you might not have access to all of the resources that are available to those undergraduate students. So I did just want to highlight that difference there with Tandon. Also to note, we do have a minimum GPA requirement. So you'll see a 3.0 there. That is based on the US 4.0 GPA scale. A 3.0 I say is a minimum requirement in order to get admitted into our programs. However, if you have below a 3.0, we don't automatically deny your application. We still review your application, and if faculty deem that you have, other outstanding qualities within your application and they feel like you would be a good asset to the program, there is still a possibility that you would be admitted under additional conditions. However, most of our students are found admissible above a 3.0. So just keep that in mind. And a 3.0, like I said, a 4.0 is a perfect A across all of our systems. A 3.0 is around a B average, if that is helpful for you. However, do note that you're more likely to be found admissible if you have a 3.0 or higher, but our average admitted student has a 3.61 GPA. So that is, again, the average, and this is across all of our programs. Each one of our programs will have different levels, of competitiveness depending on the year that it is. But overall, our students on average have a 3.1 GPA. We have a student to faculty ratio about 15 to 1. So still pretty great considering the size of the institution. So you're still going to have access to those professors when you need help. Also, you'll see here the average GRE scores. I'll talk a little bit about our requirements for GRE later on in the presentation. The GRE is not required for most of our programs, but for the students that do decide to submit to submit the test, maybe you've taken it for another application, you still want to submit it. I do just like to highlight the average scores for the admitted students that do submit their scores, which is a 166 on the quantitative portion and a 154 on the verbal. So you can see, we are an engineering school, so having great math skills is really essential. So we do prioritize having higher scores for the quantitative portion. And just as a reminder, a perfect score is a 170. On those portions of the GRE. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some additional information you can get access to in your programming here. So first and foremost, we want to talk about all of the programming that we have. There's 31, degree granting programs across a wide variety of academic departments. So these are master's and PhD programs. A majority are offered on campus, and a few have options for online study. So that would mean you staying back in Columbia. I would say, though, that for the connections with this particular scholarship program, if you are interested in doing that, you would need to be an on-campus student. We have 11 different academic departments, so like I said, these all fall into those different departments. But you can feel free to take a snapshot of this, but of course, we do have all of this information listed online as well. But we've got your standard things like computer science, construction management, cybersecurity, electrical engineering, but we also have things like management of technology, a applied mathematics program, which is our mathematical sciences degree. We also have human-centered design innovation and design. We also have integrated design and media. So if you're interested in more creative pursuits, but would still be interested in how to utilize that through technology, that might be something you're interested in as well. But again, we have the full list of all of our programming and additional information on our website. I highly recommend that you check that out. It lists the full program for each one of our programs. So what I mean by that is the coursework that you would be required to take, as well as any elective courses that you would have the option to take, is all listed on the website. So you can actually see what the program is going for you, which is something that's really, really important. Also, besides the additional information on the curriculum, on our website, you can also talk to current students from your department that you're interested in. So we have a really great opportunity where our current students will be able to chat to you if you download an app and be able to chat to them directly about their program, what it's been like, how they've enjoyed their classes, things like that. So if you want to know even more information from someone who's actually living the program, you can talk to them as well. So highly recommend that. Okay, so one of the amazing things that we have access to here is our fantastic facilities, which includes our laboratories. This is just a smattering, a little bit of an example of some of the amazing laboratories that we have for our students to have access to. We have high-speed networking laboratories, experimental learning centers. We have our NYU wireless lab that works with our electrical engineering department that's doing things with like 5G and things, which is really great. We have our AR and VR accelerated labs as well, and the Brooklyn Experimental Media Center. So lots of amazing things happening. And these are cross-disciplinary, a lot of these. So you can have access to some of these labs even if you're not studying within a particular program. It really just depends on the actual lab and what program you're studying. But a lot of them, if there's a reason that you would need to work in that particular laboratory, most often you can have access to that as well. Some additional innovative campus spaces that we have outside of those laboratories that you would have within your departments is the maker space, the maker garage, and the game design future lab, and our four future labs. So I'll just quickly highlight a couple of them. The maker space is a place where you can have access to prototype and build things out. All students have access to this. We've got 3D printers and all sorts of other machines that you're going to have access to. Students love to work in there. It's a really fun environment. Again, it's cross-disciplinary since it's open to all students, but it's a great place to build out projects and work with other students. They also offer classes on how to use instructional technologies. So we definitely recommend that you take advantage of those spaces when you are at the institution. And then, of course, we have our future labs. I'll just highlight a little bit about this. If you are interested in being a part of things that are entrepreneurial, our campus has the first public and private partnership with New York City itself to basically help support startups that are in the city. And they work in these labs, which is the Data Future Lab, the Urban Future Lab, and the Veterans Future Lab. And we basically help support those startups with as an incubation, basically. But how you can get involved as a student is that you can get hired to work at these startups. It's considered on-campus employment, so you can work there as an international student if that's something you're interested in. So you can see what it's like to run and begin a startup and also be a part of cutting-edge technology and innovation that's happening in New York City. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some additional resources that you're going to have outside of things like laboratories. As I was mentioning before, a lot of our programs are cross-disciplinary. And so what that means is you're going to have access to be able to study outside of your department if you decide to do so. Basically, if you are interested, most of our programs will have electives. So elective courses that you can decide what you want to take. Some students decide to take their elective courses within their program or within their department, but some students want to study outside of their department or even outside of Tandon. So for example, our management of technology students, a lot of times they like to go to the business school at NYU, Stern School of Business, and take a business class there because there is a lot of overlap between business and technology within their program. And so that's a program that they're looking to do to expand their knowledge in and do an elective within that school. As long as you get approval from your academic advisor, you are able to do that. So a lot of cross-disciplinary learning opportunities for students. We also have some amazing academic support services. Our courses are available at nights and on weekends, as well as during the daytime. And then we also have those academic support services, as I was mentioning, that help you understand and use instructional technologies. They help you, we have a writing center, so if you need additional help with that or tutoring, those are also available to you as well. We also have additional support services in regards to our student services that are there to help guide you as international students and as students just at NYU in general, helping the transition to the US, helping the transition to being a graduate student. And they also provide lots of fun things for you to do on campus as well. So definitely be a part of those things if you decide to come to campus. Our community is far and wide. We we really consider ourselves a university without walls. We're a recognizable brand internationally. People understand the value of an NYU education abroad. And part of that is because we really are global. As you can see here, we have 3 degree granting institutions. New York City is the main one that you would be coming to, but we also have locations in Abu Dhabi and Shanghai, as well as 12 global academic centers. So if you were somebody that was thinking about maybe doing a PhD or something like that, we do have research opportunities at our global locations as well. And because of this, because we are a university without walls, we've actually been ranked #2 as the most diverse student body in the US for US institutions. We have around 33 different countries represented at the institution and all 50 states in the US represented. And the reason we highlight this is to let you know that you're going to be welcome here. We're a diverse institution that really prioritizes that. And you can see that through our student body. Okay, so just quickly talking a little bit about New York City itself before we dive into what it looks like to apply to the institution. For those of you that are not familiar, New York City is within New York State. New York State borders Canada, and it's also on the eastern coastline of the United States. And you can see New York City is at the bottom of the screen there in that green circle. So very, very southern tip of New York State. So if you zoomed into that, this is what the map of New York City looks like. On the left-hand side is the state of New Jersey, and then you have the 5 boroughs that make up New York City itself. So there's the Bronx, Queens, Staten Island, Manhattan, and Brooklyn. You'll see on this slide here that there's 2 stars, one in Manhattan, one in Brooklyn. Those purple stars represent our 2 campuses within New York City. So we have the Washington Square campus that's in Manhattan, and then we have the Brooklyn campus. The Brooklyn campus is the Tandon campus, so this is where you will be located. Brooklyn is such an amazing place to be. Um, and we'll talk a little bit about that in just a second. But to highlight some amazing things about New York itself, New York has been named the #1 most influential city in the world, and we're home to tons of tech giants like Facebook and Google. And so there's a lot of opportunities for you here as a student. So New York City has not only, just Facebook and Google, we really have a lot of high-tech industries in finance, construction, big data firms. We have manufacturing, pharmacy, or big pharma. We also have things around, the public sector and technology, marketing and advertising, insurance. There's a lot of things happening in the city itself. And there's been a 22% job growth in New York City over the last 2 years. So that continues to grow for students. So it's really a great opportunity. And when students are thinking about, graduating and going into the workforce, or even thinking about doing internships during your studies, you're going to have access to these institutions. You're going to be able to apply to them, and, stay in New York, a place that you're already familiar with, which is really great. So you're not going to have to travel to somewhere else in the United States to find an internship. Now, talking a little bit more specifically about Brooklyn and where our campus is located that I mentioned earlier, we're home to over 1,350 innovation companies alone, and there's been over a 350% startup growth rate since 2008. I always say that anytime I hear about something cool or innovative happening in the city and somebody is telling me about it, I'm like, where exactly is that happening? It's always Brooklyn. Brooklyn is really at the cutting edge, and we are really in the heart of that. We've been here for a very, very long time. We're really connected to the community, which is really great. You can see here the purple dot, our campus, and just some of the companies that are around us that our students sometimes get internships at. But it's a really great opportunity and an exciting place to be for those that are interested in innovation within New York City. Okay, so now that I've talked a little bit about, what we offer, some of the resources that we have for our students, it's also important, I think, to talk about your return on your investment. Graduate degrees are something that take time and effort, and they take money, as you know. And it's important to know that that investment that you're putting into the institution is going to give you the outcomes that you're looking for. So we wanted to highlight just a couple of things here First and foremost is our career placement rate. So our last graduating class of those students that were surveyed and replied to our survey about their career placement, 99% of students were either in a PhD program or were in a or were working in a field that they wanted to be working in within 6 months of graduating. So that right there tells you that not only are our students sought after, in their job markets, but also that they are coming out competent with the skill sets needed to be hireable. So we're very proud of those statistics. And also a common starting salary for our students is 6 figures. So again, you're coming out, you're making the money that you want to be making in these programs or in your field. We've also been ranked number 4 for US engineering schools for salary potential. So continuing to increase your salary after you've graduated as well. So hopefully you can see here, this just gives you an example that, the investment that you're putting into the institution, we're going to be giving that back to you through all of the opportunities that we have here, as well as through the education that we're providing you and the skill sets that you're going to have when you leave. Okay, so now that we've covered all of that, hopefully you're excited and interested in the institution and would like to apply. So let's talk about how you do that. First and foremost, our deadlines. You can see here, there's a little bit of discrepancy with the dates. I apologize for the confusion there. Ignore the years and just look at the actual date. So for spring 2026, so if you're wanting to start in January, the deadline for those applications is November 1st of this year, of 2025, not 2024. So you would need to apply by November 1st. But if you're interested in next fall, which is what most people are interested in, so starting in August or September of 2026, the application deadlines are as follows. So if you're interested in a PhD, you only have one deadline, which is December 1st of this year. If you are a master's student, we have what we call our priority consideration. We do recommend that students apply by the priority consideration deadline, as you're going to be a part of the first pool of applicants to get reviewed for admission into the university. So that deadline, again, is December 1st. So we highly recommend that you do that. If you're not able to get your application in by the December 1st deadline, or if it would be drastically improved if you waited a little bit longer, you can still apply for the fall term by February 15th. So we do recommend that you do that. For the fully online programs, you can apply all the way up till July 1st. But everything else for on campus, the final deadline for master students is February 15th. The application is currently not yet open for next year. It will become open within the next month. So just keep checking back on the website. You'll see when it goes live. But again, you'll have until November or until December 1st to get that application in. So you can always start gathering your materials between now and the time the application opens. So what are those materials that you need to submit? So like I said, we do have an online application. So you will need to submit your application fully online. And then once you complete the application online, you will be required to provide an application fee of $90. However, for attending today's session, I will be getting your guys' information after this, and we can send you an application fee waiver. So you don't have to pay that $90 application fee as being a part of this program. So keep that in mind. So don't apply until you've gotten the waiver. And then also some other things that you're going to need are additional documentation that we're going to ask you to provide to us through the online application. So first and foremost is your official transcripts. And so what we mean by that is all of your previously attended institutions after high school, and have all of those transcripts sent to us that list your courses that you studied and the grades that you got for each of those for all of the years that you studied. If you have completed your undergraduate degree by the time that you apply, you will need to also submit a proof of degree being awarded. So a proof of degree or proof of graduation. Typically, we require what I said is official documentation. And what I mean by that is that your university in Columbia sends us directly the official transcripts and your degree. However, At the time of application, we will allow copies of official documents. So if your institution has given you your transcripts, you can take a photo of those or scan those and upload them as a PDF into the application, and we will take them for review purposes only. Just keep in mind that if you are admitted, eventually we will need those real official documentations directly from your institution to us, and we will cross-reference those based on what you submitted at the time of application. So just keep that in mind. Some students find it easier just to ask for the officials at the beginning so they don't have to ask for them later, but a lot of students find it easier just to upload those copies at the time of application, and then once they're admitted, submit those officials later on, which is totally fine. If you are not going to be completed with your degree program by the time you apply, but you are going to be done with your program by the time you would start next year, which a lot of students are, you would just submit all of the transcripts that you have completed up until that point. So, if you're able to get your transcript before the December 1st deadline for your fall term, make sure that you submit that. But it needs to be all the way up until the last completed term. So be sure to make sure that you're working with your university to get those transcripts and information uploaded. Next, there are some standardized examinations. So as I was mentioning before, the GRE is optional for all of our master's and PhD programs as of now. So what that means is that you do not need to submit the GRE. The GRE is an academic test for graduate programs. It is not required. I usually advise students that if you maybe have already taken the exam or you're thinking about taking the exam and you're not sure, should I submit scores? Should I not? Since they're optional, will it help me if I submit scores? Will it not? What I tell students is this: your profile, if it does not have GRE scores, will be reviewed like GRE was never required. They're going to be looking at your application and all of the other aspects of the application as a whole, and will not, so therefore it will not negatively impact your application if you do not submit the scores. However, if you do submit the scores, it will be reviewed like the GRE was required, meaning that they are going to look at your scores, and therefore the scores may hurt your profile if they're not that great or not that impressive. So you're not just going to get bonus points because you submitted the test scores. The scores need to actually be something that is going to improve your application. So what I would say is that take some time to think about, as this is why I mentioned the average test scores before. Like the average admitted student had a 166 on the quant. If you have a 154 on the quant, that might not be a score that you want to show the faculty. That could hurt your chances of getting in. But if you have a 169 on the quant and maybe your GPA is a little bit lower than the average, maybe your GPA is a 3.3 or something, that could be something that you could show, like, hey, I actually have a really good GRE score, and help faculty be able to see your application, and see if you're going to be able to be successful in the program. Another standardized examination all international students do need to submit is an English proficiency examination. So we do take several different English proficiency exams. We take the TOEFL, the IELTS, the Cambridge exam, PTE, as well as Duolingo. Of course, we have minimum requirements for each one of those. You can see those minimum requirements on our website, so be sure to check that out. But it is something that is required. So you must submit this in order for your application to be completed and reviewed. And then also you will need to officially report those test scores through the testing agency itself, directly to us. We will not take scores that you report to us. They must be through the testing agency. So outside of examination scores, some additional things that you need to provide is a resume or a CV that will be required to be uploaded to the application. And then also you will be prompted to write an essay. Within the application itself, there will be 2 question prompts for you to reply to. You can write up to a half of a page to a full page in response to each question. So therefore, your full essay will be 1 to 2 pages. Please be sure that you are reading what those questions are and replying to those questions directly, and not copy and pasting a other sort of essay that you've done from other institutions. And also, Please do not use AI to write your essay. We will know. This is an opportunity for you to talk to us a little bit about, you as an individual, what you're looking for, how the program fits into you. And it's really one of the only places in the application where you can stand out as an individual and show us who you are as a human. So please do not feel like you have to write the perfect thing in here. Be yourself. Talk about how you're connected to the program, what you want to do, your experiences, answer those questions directly. Don't get in your head thinking you have to say the perfect thing. AI is not a human. We want to hear from a human, so don't necessarily rely on that. And the last few things that you're going to need here is an online recommendation form. So make sure that you have recommenders, whether they be faculty or professors that you've had in the past, or maybe a professional that you've worked with, maybe a supervisor. Have them fill out our online recommendation form. On our website, what will happen is when you fill out your application, you're going to put in the recommender that you're going to want to have contacted. You're going to have their name and their email address in the application form, and then we will send an automatic email to them with a link for them to fill out a form that will ask them questions about you and why they recommend you. So be sure that they are aware of that process and to look out for that. Also note that we will only accept emails for recommenders that are professional, so not their personal contact information. So if it was somebody that you worked with, say, at a company, their company email address, or if it's a professor, make sure it's their university email address that they have so that we can accept that, because we will not take personal email addresses. If the faculty member or the other recommender does want to also submit a letter of recommendation on your behalf, there is a place that they can do that within the form to upload that in addition to the form, but it is not required. What is required is the form. And then lastly, some of our programs will have additional materials that they request from you, whether it be a portfolio or academic papers. You will see those things on the application for the program that you've applied to. You can also find more information on our website for those particular things. Very rarely do we have interviews. They're usually by request, and they're usually just for our PhD students. But outside of that, like I said, if you want to see a full list of our requirements, you can go to our website. And the very last thing I want to talk about, which I think is a good transition into the Q&A portion here, is our scholarship and funding. So for general students, so if you decide to not go through the connection that we have here with Futuro, all of our students, whether you're international or domestic, are reviewed for scholarships at the time of application. So the time of admittance. So if you are admitted into a program, you automatically get reviewed for scholarship, but scholarships are only awarded based upon academic merit. And so they are going to be looking at your GRE scores, your GPA, and a few other factors as well. And then they are typically awarded to students. Not all students get those awards. So if you decide to apply on your own, that's something that you need to know. But for us, the scholarship opportunity that we have here with Futuro is we have a base scholarship. So if you are selected and admitted from us and you're selected as a recipient for this program, NYU offers a tuition reduction of $18,000 for your scholarship, or as your scholarship, which is really great. And in addition to that, we also provide all of our recipients with a graduate assistant position. And what that means is you're going to have a part-time on-campus job built into your scholarship program. So you're going to be able to be paid an hourly wage on campus to have additional income coming in while you're a student. And you can use that in any way that you see fit, whether if you want to put it towards your tuition costs or other expenses, or if you want to use it to, buy food or have it go towards rent or anything like that, you can do that. So great opportunity here. I highly recommend that you apply through these programs as well as applying to NYU so that you have the opportunity to be considered for this very large scholarship. This is much larger than most of our scholarships that students get. So it's a really great opportunity. And the last thing I wanted to highlight here, you'll see on September 1st, I myself actually will be in Bogota, as well as faculty from our departments, and we will be having an event at the Bogota Plaza Hotel. So if you want to have more information about our programs, if you want to be able to speak to faculty directly about the program and questions that you might have in person, we highly recommend that you check that out. If you scan the QR code on the screen and fill out the form there, we'll be able to send you an invite to this event that's happening on September 1st. So please feel free to do that. Again, if you're not able to screenshot this fast enough before I change it, don't worry. You can always send me an email and we can get you invited to that as well. But we will also have it posted on our website for you to apply. So now I think I'll just open it back up to questions. I will say that on the slide here is all of our general contact information, so please feel free to ask questions there as well if we run out of time here today. I know we don't have a ton of time for questions, but just wanted to say that. Okay, I will take it back to Karen.
Yes, thank you, Carrie, for your presentation. And this is an amazing opportunity for all the Core Futuro applicants. We have some questions. The first one is, would you recommend me to physically visit the faculty or department of my program of interest as part of the application process?
No, so what I would say is that if it was a student that's interested in PhD, I would recommend that you can contact faculty virtually before applying or at the beginning stages of the application process, just to put a face to a name. But that's not even required for PhDs. It's sort of just recommended. At the master's level, that's not something that you need to do or worry about at all. And we don't necessarily recommend it just because of the amount of master's applicants that we have. It can be a bit overwhelming for faculty to have that many interactions, but when there is an opportunity to meet with them, say this event that I was mentioning for September 1st, where you can meet them in person, I do recommend doing that just because it is a rare opportunity. And if you can meet with them in person, I would suggest that.
Okay, thank you. And another question is, are there research projects, labs, or professors at Tandon whose work has direct applications on Latin America or emerging economies?
I believe so, yes. I don't have all of the information. There's so much research going on, so I apologize that I don't know things off the top of my head, but I will say that our current dean, our new dean, is actually from Latin America, and he does a lot of research. So I would definitely recommend checking out the website because I'm sure there's additional information there. And there's a lot of things about within these particular regions, and we have students from these regions that are doing a lot of research there. So I know there's probably projects, I just can't list them off at the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure they are doing some things around that.
Okay, thank you. And the last question we have today is, how flexible is the curriculum for taking courses at other NYU schools like a Star School of Business or something like that?
Yeah, so I highlighted this a little bit in the presentation, but I will go over it again because I know it can be a little bit confusing. So the flexibility is there. The main hurdle you're going to have with taking a course outside of Tandon is really convincing your faculty advisor that you will be assigned once you first start your programming. They're really there to make sure that you're on track and doing the program correctly. They have to approve any course that you take outside of your department. So you really just need to work with them. Most students in most departments are able to take coursework outside of their particular department, say at the Stern School of Business, as long as they can prove that it makes sense with their program. And most often than not, it does make sense. And like I said, we're an institution that really believes in cross-disciplinary learning. We want students to be able to get the education they want. But we also want students to know that, master's programs in particular, it's a 2-year program over 4 terms. And so you are going to be focused on a very particular area that you're studying still. And so you want to make sure that you're not thinking like, oh, I can take all of these classes, 5, 6 classes in another school and like, kind of cheat the system to get both degrees at once. That's not really how that's going to work. It's usually somewhere between 1 to 3 classes are elective courses. But like I said, it's usually quite flexible. It is an opportunity that most of our students do take advantage of and do. So if you are interested in that, definitely it's a conversation to have with your advisor when you first meet with them before you start your program.
Okay, thank you, Carrie. That's all the questions we had today.
Great.
And thank you for being here, for sharing with us all the information about the opportunity at Tandem. So, thank you. And muchas gracias a todos los que se conectaron. Recuerden que pueden participar de nuestros webinars en la página de Colfuturo. Y solo para cerrar, les recuerdo que con la Universidad de Nueva York y la Facultad de Tandon hay una oportunidad de beca de $18,000 y Graduate Assistantship garantizado para todas las personas que sean beneficiarias de Colfuturo y que vayan a uno de los programas de la Escuela de Ingeniería Tandon. Muchas gracias por asistir y nos vemos en un próximo espacio. Que estén bien.